This is episode 92 of the After Gambling podcast. And in this episode, we're going to talk more about time. Hey there, and welcome to the After Gambling podcast. My name is Jamie. I am a former problem gambler. Now I haven't gambled since July 15th of 2010. And I do this little podcast to help other people that are in a similar boat, right? I mean, I do this to help other people. I listen to other people's podcasts, which I'm going to give a plug up front. Broke Girl Society, definitely go check it out. It's a podcast that I knew about for a long time. I always knew she was doing really good work because I could tell just by the people that I know, mutual acquaintances, friends, who were always saying, hey, that's a really good podcast. I just hadn't gotten around to it. Started listening to a bunch of episodes and it's fantastic. All the podcasts out there. I've yet to listen to one and say, wow, that's not a good one. There's a lot of different podcasts out there in this space. Go check them all out. Listen to them. We're just so lucky to have the ability to broadcast and to hear different people that have different experiences, because eventually you can find somebody that is a lot like you. And I think there's value in listening to people that are a lot like you because it's easier to connect. And I think there's value in listening to people that have different experiences because they may see things in a different angle that the people that shared your exact experience don't exactly see. So there's value. Long-winded way of saying, go check out all the podcasts. Don't listen to this one alone. Go find the other ones. There's so many good ones. You'd be missing out, and you're not really kind of giving yourself all of the tools possible if you don't go listen to those other ones. So please go check them all out. And on the topic of listening to other things, it's a good segue for today. We're going to talk about counting days or making the days count. And this was something that came up and so many times. And this is why if you're a content producer, me as a marketer, it's this fine line where consumption versus production, like listening to other things versus using my time to create new podcasts or new content. But I just get so much value out of listening to other people's podcasts, other people's audiobooks, just reading other people's blogs. It always triggers ideas. And this one today came from, I was listening to an audiobook, Atomic Habits, which is a great book by James Clear. And it's funny, James Clear, like I remember it must have been almost 10 years ago coming across his work, I think on Twitter first, and following him and subscribing to his then newsletter. And then eventually he wrote this book, Atomic Habits. And for whatever reason, I just never listened to it. I think probably I just assumed that I had read all his content and sort of knew about what he had to say, or just kind of had the big summary. And while that's true, I think obviously it was a great thing to finally just listen to his dang book. And listening to it, it triggered this thought about days and time, because it's all about using Atomic Habits. It's about focusing on the smallest changes, right? It's very similar to, you've heard me talk a lot about the slight edge, these small little things that seem almost so small and insignificant that they don't really matter. But ultimately, it's those little small actions and decisions that add up over time, compound interest, all of a sudden, the overnight success, right? 5 or 10 years later, you realize you're an expert in something because you've just been chipping away at it. And that's how great violinists become great violinists, how great golfers like Tiger Woods become great golfers, digging it out of the soil each day, doing those small little things. And so in the book, he was talking about habit change and how there's always the discussion about how long does it take to change a habit. And I'm sure you've probably heard the different ones, 21 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Everybody has a theory on how many days it takes to get a new habit ingrained. And I think the one thing that he said really stuck out, and he said, there's nothing magical about time passing. And he went on to say more, and I'll paraphrase the rest, but he was basically saying that to develop a new habit, just counting the number of days, sure, that's a metric. And there can be value in that. I think we all talk about, like, especially in the gambling space, we'll have days since our last bet, which I've done podcasts on. There's benefits to that, and there's negative things to that. And what he points out is that's one metric, but it might not be the best metric, right? Because just because you abstain from gambling or from drinking or from binge eating, whatever it is that you're struggling with, just because you abstain for 300 days doesn't mean that you're in the same place as somebody that also has abstained for 300 days, but maybe they listen to a podcast, maybe they go to therapy, maybe they're working with somebody one-on-one on this, they have some coaching in place. Maybe they're working and they're working through the underlying issues with their friends and family members. They're doing all these things. Well, 300 days for them is going to look a lot different than 300 days of just white knuckling it through. And I thought that was a really important topic, and obviously so important that I created this podcast about it, because it is something that the days, it's not saying that counting days is a bad thing or a negative thing or something we shouldn't do. For some people it works, some people it doesn't. Got to be the scientist in the subject and figure out which one it is for you. But what is, I guess, the bigger picture here, and what he points out is there's nothing magical about time passing. There's more to it. And when we look at it that way, when we have a different perspective, or maybe a different thing that we're measuring, which is what are we putting into each one of those days, then all of a sudden that metric of days can really tell a completely different story, or a better story. Because ultimately we talk about we only have 24 hours in a day. And most of those, 8 of those, we're sleeping. Hopefully 8, and hopefully at least 7 we're sleeping. So we have these times, but there's a difference going back to that, just white knuckling and just not gambling versus taking active steps and changing and understanding the behaviors that are the underlying things, the triggers, merely identifying the triggers. If you spend a day and you can identify what 10 of those triggers are and then create barriers to make your life easier, so much different than just spending a day not gambling, right? So again, I just thought this was such a huge topic, something I wanted to point out. And there's so many other good things. I definitely recommend that book. One of the other topics that he covers, which I just think is really helpful, is that when we're going through and trying to make changes in our behaviors, he points out we should try to make the things that we want to do, the replacement behavior, as easy as possible. And then we should also make the habit that we're trying to stop difficult. And so he talks about whether a good example is junk food, right? Like if you're trying to eat healthy, the easiest thing is just not put it in the house. If you don't have it in the house, it isn't basically, you're doing both of those things. You're making it easier to eat the healthier foods that are in the fridge. You're making it much more difficult to eat unhealthy things because you got to get in your car, drive to the store, and go through all of these steps to get it. And so when we're looking at gambling, we can do things like installing blocking software. We can limit our access to funds. It just makes it easier to not gamble. And so whenever you're going through and you're trying to create your system, those barriers that you're going to put in place, make it as easy as possible on yourself to follow through and not gamble. So that's my takeaway for this week, some of the key messages. Now here towards the end of the podcast, what I want to do is talk about status updates, right? Because I talked about I'm trying to get better at procrastination, and it's something that I'm still dealing with it. I'm getting better, and I'm creating these better strategies. I'm trying to get more out of each day. One thing I've noticed is it really is just so true to just have something to just go do it. Just jump in. One of the things that I've been procrastinating for a long time is working out. And I'm lucky I have a nice workout facility, a little machinery here in my basement where I work and do the podcast and everything else. And I've just been going in there. When I get stuck, one of my defaults right now has been to go in there and just pump a few things, do a couple of sets and just knock them out. And so that's helping with my strength. Now, obviously, that can be something that can quickly become an escape and procrastinate on my work. And so I'm very aware of that, and I'm trying to balance these things out. But again, it's just trying to come up with a better solution. So now it's one of those things that when I just have these moments where I'm struggling, I've been going and doing a couple of sets there. Or I also have kind of a little workout ball, and maybe I'll do a set of crunches. Is it the best solution? No. Is it better than just standing and being stuck and not doing anything or scrolling Twitter? Yes. And so working on those, getting a little bit better on those things. The other thing, which is I was reminded of it, somebody on our Monday call, and this is, again, content. And I mean, content is going to meetings, listening to other people. Somebody was talking about a book about drinking and how they just talk about becoming a non-drinker, right? And if you listen to Alan Carr's Easy Way method, he talks about we don't give up anything. We just become a non-gambler. And that was a great reminder. It's something I'd kind of forgotten about over the times. And so I'm using that method also just to talk about what are the things I want to be in my life. And so I have a kind of a whiteboard here in my basement. I'm turning and looking, and I went through and I put up, and this was another part of the James Clear. He mentioned a similar concept, which is we need to focus on what we want to identify as, figure out who we want to be, and just make that our identity. And it was that same concept, and he actually brought up the Alan Carr method. He was using the smoking one, but nonetheless, we know that it works for gambling also. And just highlight those things, because then it's amazing if we set kind of the goal being just kind of this person we want to be instead of these specific actions or results that we want to see. And then he talks about setting up systems to get there. Well, I think that really helps. And so I kind of put those things down. And so I have a list of, right now I have 8 different ones. So some of them like organized, professional, communicative. I actually had to Google that word just to make sure that was truly a word. I'm like, this has to be a word. But being better at communicating to other people. And when I put that up, and it's amazing, that's a great word. I'll stop there and talk about, because I put that up, I want to be the type of person that's good at communicating, because sometimes I get things stuck in my head and I stew on them. I don't actually say them out loud. I don't ask for feedback. And in that way, I'm not a good communicator, but I want to be known as a good communicator. And so whenever I have these situations, I had one recently come up where I was thinking something in my head and I'm like, I don't know if that's true, but that's what it feels like. And I said, Jamie, stop doing that. Send them a message, tell them what you're thinking, and get feedback. And so I did, and I followed through, and it worked out really well. And I got feedback from the person, and there were some good things in there and some bad things in there, but it wasn't bad. It was an opportunity. And I'm doing that more and more. So communicate with other people, but that all stems from me having this thing on the board, as simple as just writing up, hey, I want to be communicative. And when I set that as kind of my North Star, then all of a sudden the actions I need to take become so much clearer. It's like, if you want to do that small little step, that little atomic habit is to send a message and get feedback and say, hey, here's how I'm feeling. Here's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong. Let me know if I'm right, wrong, whatever you're thinking. So those have been really good. And I'm like organized. I also have thorough and responsible. So trying to incorporate those obviously into my work. So as I'm working on a project, I'm known to get a very cluttered desktop. I have 50 different things, and I'll just save everything to the desktop. In the future, I'll move them. Well, now I'm getting better at, okay, well, if I want to be professional, if I want to be thorough and organized, an organized person saves those into the right folder, so you don't have to do that later. And I really kind of go through and all kind of dot the I's and cross on the T's to make sure that everything's getting done properly, professionally. And so again, having those thoughts up, it's just something I glance at and see each day, has been really helpful for me. Laying the foundation to say, this is the type of person you want to be. And so again, it's also focused on the positive things, right? These are the attributes that I want to demonstrate in my life. And so having those just makes it easier, those small little steps as I run across them in my day. So maybe take that, try that out. Let me know how it works for you. But all these things, again, it's a learning process. I'm back doing this podcast. It's nice doing it again. Today actually was one day I'm like, oh, I forgot. It's Friday. It's Friday, which means I need to do the podcast. And if I say that I want to be organized and professional and thorough and responsible, and caring's one of mine. And I care about doing this. I care about following through and living up to what I set out to help other people with. And so it just became clear. It's like, okay, find the time, get it recorded, get it posted, get it out. And so having these big vision, big picture kind of traits that I want to embody has been really helpful for me. So maybe that's something you can take and use in your own life, because ultimately that's what this whole podcast is about. It's about me talking through and using myself as a guinea pig in a lot of cases, talk through, let you know what's working, what hasn't worked, and just try to be as honest as I can about these things. Because if it's something that I'm struggling with, there's a good chance somebody else is struggling with it. And that's probably a good place to end here for today, is no matter what you're going through, it's easy to get caught up in feeling like you're the only person that's ever dealt with that. But the reality is somebody else has, one of the other 7.9 billion of us have gone through that same problem. Unfortunately, now we have this thing called the internet where you can go and find that person and learn from them, figure out what worked for them. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that hopefully this is helping you with your gambling, and we'll continue to just explore what's going on in all of our lives and just get better. That's all we can do. Look for today, work on today, try to be better today at all those things that are on my board. If I had new words, use those as guidance to help me move through life and just ultimately live the way that I truly want to be known for, and just kind of the way that I know in my heart is the way that I want to live. So that's what I'm here to do. Hopefully you're on the same path. I'm pretty sure you probably are. Other than that, remember, all of the things that we talk about here are for informational purposes only. Seek out the help. You deserve it. Get professional help on finances, on therapy, all of the above. Get special help, dedicated help, professional help. you deserve it. This is supposed to be a bridge that just helps you kind of get comfortable with the concepts, and then you move on beyond this to professional help. So that is important that you do that. And then finally, music for the show is Something Elated by Broke for Free and is licensed under the Creative Commons license. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.